Welcome to the Fringe Podcast presented by Imperial Golf. My name is Brandon Trytek here with JT Watson, Jon Snyder, and another special guest here, Chris Bell from the National Golf Club just down the street. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
I was hoping you'd get his name wrong.
So I made sure
Chris
I was looking at him, and then I looked down to the bag.
My name on it, yeah.
Strategic placement.
This is totally different from the first time I was ever in front of a camera. I thought about that this morning. Done a little TV spot in my hometown, and it was my name's Chris Bell, and I like golf. Okay, this is a bit more upgraded than that, so yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Here we go.
Cool.
Here we go.
Somewhat professional.
We had to do a TV spot once. Remember that? On the
first year for the
local
golf
news.
show? Yeah.
That was kind of nerve-wracking, actually. And you're in the real studio, and
Because it was so unorganized.
yeah,
Nobody knew what we were supposed to be doing.
which was shocking, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
You're just going to stand here, and then we would call action, and they just started talking to us. I was like, oh, man, this could go
and then we were on live television.
Yeah, that was nerve-wracking,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I have a face for radio and a voice for deaf ears, so it's a bad combo.
Yeah, I'm so glad that footage was lost.
Yeah.
So, Chris, why don't you tell us just a little bit what you do for the National? And
So I am the director of membership for the National. They like to call it a job, but I don't really see it that way. I see it more of as a kind of showing people an awesome property and basically changing their life. So you're kind of walking around, showing them the golf course, wining them, dining them, taking them to play holes, and basically kind of most of these guys that come out there are already successful, and they all kind of want to get to that country club lifestyle. And
Sure.
I just happen to be the guy that kind of makes that happen for them. So it's I don't really see it as a job. I see it as kind of basically marketing department, really.
Yeah.
And it doesn't suck, to be honest.
So you get to play a lot of golf with potential members then?
That's pretty much what happens. Yeah, they'll contact the club, and I'll kind of
Yeah.
get a feel for what they kind of want, whether they want to do the Deuce Golf Course, the National Golf Course, or the social membership, and kind of cater the tour of the club to that. And most of the time they're golfers, so it's like, hey, let's go play golf and
Yeah.
drink some beer and hang out, and
Yeah.
hopefully your wife's okay with the membership costs, pretty much.
Probably not.
Yeah.
It's not her choice.
so then playing with members, you're probably a pretty good player yourself then, I would imagine.
A little bit, yeah.
Which I saw. You take a couple swings on our simulator here. And
Yeah, we got
Only shanked 3 shots.
I had one or two of them in there. And then I was hitting the wrong golf ball too, so
yeah.
yeah. The indoor golf stuff's new to me, so I've always been outdoors, and like I was telling you earlier, it's beating thousands and thousands of golf balls and figuring it out. So yeah, we're doing it.
You mean real versus fake golf?
Pretty
Basically.
much, yeah. Can't say that when you've got X-Golf
We get
in your golf
that.
bag, but
Yeah. Hey, you brought it up.
yeah. Yeah, we got it. Well, we just got to keep a handicap now. I've turned professional in 2013, so been playing professional golf kind of on and off since then, and had to keep a handicap for one of the club events that we do, the KC Cup, and
Oh, yeah.
right now we're at +3, so
Nice.
Pretty good.
it's.
I heard you've never lost KC Cup event.
There was one of them we got a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Even when it's handicapped, huh?
The pros one's not handicapped.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah,
Right.
that makes sense.
So did you play a lot of competitive golf growing up, or like in college, anything like that?
So we're gonna go right from the start. We can go right from the start.
We can go all
I
the
was
way
going to
back.
say,
to the
I'm sure our
beginning.
viewers can pick up
Tell
on
me
your-
about your infancy.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
Well,
I'm sure
what
our
would the
viewers
golf
can
club
pick
gonna
up
say?
on your accent. So
They-
you're from Georgia, right?
Yeah. I
had a
thought it was
guy-
Texas.
I had a guy ask me one time. He's like, Germany. I'm like, Germany? How do you figure that out?
Has he never seen a movie?
I don't know. Yeah.
He was from Georgia.
Right.
Got it
Yeah.
asked.
Okay.
But yeah, infancy is kind of irrelevant at this point because we didn't pick up a golf club till I was 13 years old.
Were you born 6'8" or was?
It's pretty close to that. Yeah. It's always been a nightmare to get pants that fit. It's always been like that. Yeah.
Oh man.
I first picked up a golf club when I was 13 years old, and like I was telling you earlier, I held it the wrong way.
Reverse.
Yep.
Left hand
Left
low.
hand low, yeah. Kind of didn't have the ability or the funds to be a member of a club or that stuff, so we only had one golf club down the local park, and there wasn't any holes cut out in the local park, so we had to dig the holes with the one golf club that I had, which was kind of interesting looking back at it now, and
Mhm.
it was just a case of we had to walk to the golf course, which is like a 45-minute walk, find the golf balls, and then kind of walk back, dig the hole, go start hitting golf balls. And it was like I got better and better at it, and I had to move further and further away from the hole. And it was funny, I kept running back home to my dad, and I was like, hey, I'm hitting it this far, I'm hitting it this far. We didn't know what yardages was. It was like, I can hit it to this drainer, or I can hit it to this pole, or whatever it is. And he's like, yeah, BS, get out of here. I was like, no, honestly, I can hit the full length of the park with a 9-iron. Holding it the wrong way. And he's like, okay, let's go check this out. So we went down, and he's like, holy shit, we need to get this kid into a golf course. And got into the golf course, kind of 13 and a half years old, and the pro there was like, if you ever want to do anything in golf, you need to flip that grip. And then it was, had a David Ledbetter book. He was at Lake Nona, I think it was back then.
Yeah.
That, along with the
right.
Tiger Woods one that he had.
Yeah.
And it was beating golf balls, and most of the time in the rain. So it was kind of trying to like 2 tees in the pages and stuff to try and keep it open. It's pouring rain up, five towels underneath the umbrella, kind of got to master it using the umbrella in the rain. So
It's too gorgeous here.
that's why I'm here. Yeah.
That's a purist golf story though. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's how it all started, and it's kind of the crazy part is like how you've ended up here doing this stuff, but starting from that.
Right.
But we were talking a little bit about the golf coaching earlier, and basically never had a lesson either. So, and the funny story with that was an older guy, Jim Hill, kind of finished the 16th hole, walked to the clubhouse, and he seen me over there in the soaking wet and rain practicing, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm learning this game," and I'm kind of flicking the page, putting the tee in there, and he was like, best thing you can do is put that book in the trash, hit it towards the flag, and if it doesn't go there, go find it, and then just do it a bunch of times, and you'll figure it out. Book went in the trash, and it was got to scratch after 3 years. Played for Scotland and the European boys and home internationals, which a couple of names that you might know that played in those tournaments with us. We had Rory, we had Shane Lowry, Danny Willett, and Tommy Fleetwood. So it was pretty cool playing with those guys growing up.
Yeah, I bet.
It was
That's awesome.
That's quite the competition.
So yeah, done that, and then went into the sales world because we didn't have the funding at that point to come to the US. A few guys had done that, but a couple of the guys that had done it, they came over here for a few months, got homesick, and went home. I was working for Xerox for like 3.5 years, so I actually came over here to junior college a little bit later than you normally would. But I've actually got the briefcase in my office at the National, so never forget the day. My dad always tells the story too. I walked into the kitchen that day and I just had enough. I was like, I'm going to America. Slammed the briefcase on the desk. I was like, I'm going to America. And he nearly fell on the floor laughing at me. He's like, yes, there's no chance you've got the balls to move to America. And three weeks later, I had a visa and whittled my life right down to a set of golf clubs and a suitcase and moved to Odessa, Texas, of all places.
Oh wow.
So how did you land in that? I mean, was it just the opportunity to play golf? Like, how did you end up finding that from?
So it's basically the
Small
way
town.
the way it works from over there. It's kind of like a recruitment agency. So you'll go to the agency. I think we paid like £500 or something, and they come out and do a swing video and a little kind of promotional video. But with having the playing for your country, top 5 in the country under your belt, it was coaches were like, "We want this guy."
Yeah.
So with Odessa, Texas being a crazy oil field town, they had pretty much unlimited access to funds. And if they didn't have that, then I wouldn't be here because we couldn't afford to do it. So coach called me and he was like, we'll pay for everything. Pay for your flights, your room, your school, your books, the whole thing. And I'm like, how quickly can I get a visa and jump on that plane? So the funny thing was, again, I'd never been in the US. I'd kind of travel a little bit around Europe playing tournaments, and landing in Odessa, Texas, of all places, was like, it was funny that the little kind of puddle jumper plane going from Dallas to Odessa, kind of coming down, it's going left, and I'm like, to the guy next to me with a cowboy hat. I'd never seen a guy with a real person with a cowboy hat on, and I'm like, this is weird to start with. But I'm like, surely we're crashing, right? And he's like, no, sir, this is West Texas. And I'm like,
That's pretty
there
good.
we go.
Yeah.
And, so
You didn't even need 2 beers.
Yeah.
So we landed there and went to a good buddy of mine's now, Zach. Stayed at his house, and that was interesting because, like, right now my accent's slowed down a lot. I've had to living in Texas for 11 years. But that night I went in there and I was kind of long day of traveling. And I was trying. They were asking me like a couple of questions here, and they were like, "We have got no idea what you're saying." Like, okay, went to sleep. So he took me around the country club, which was the first ever country club I'd ever seen, and mansion after oil field money, and there's Lambos and Ferraris and all this crazy stuff. And we're like, I want to do that. I want to stay here and I want to be part of that stuff. So
Yeah.
that was 12 years ago in January right there. So
That's awesome.
yep.
So what was would you say from a golf perspective, the hardest adjustment as a player coming from the UK to then like the open plains of Texas? I mean,
So the golf course I played on most of the time growing up, it was a kind of inland parkland course. It was kind of super wet, soggy, tree lined, kind of coming down steep on it, big divots, balls going high, lots of backspin, that type of stuff. And then funny story about the qualifying. So another thing with the difference in Scotland and the US is that even though I played for my country and I was top 5 player in the country, don't really get any recognition for it. It's like, yeah, I'm a golfer. Not interested in golfers. It's football over there, right? It's
well,
like,
and isn't it true if you do anything as a Scottish person, then they'll just call you English?
yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yep. That happens, yeah. So the funny part was we got off the aeroplane, and the next day after that, there was pictures and photographers, and this guy's coming from Scotland, and he's going to help win the national championship, and on the front page of the newspaper in Odessa, Texas. And I'm like, these people don't even know who I am. Like, they don't know like any of my nothing.
Right.
Okay. So I mean, I was playing pretty well. We'd done pretty good in the Scottish Amateur the kind of 6 months before that, and then go out to the golf course and just no idea how to hit the golf ball. Like, no idea. Rock solid, like fairways and rough, and can't come in steep to it or you break your wrist, all that type of stuff. And with it being 40, 50 degrees hotter temperature-wise, the ball's flying 30, 40 yards further. So one of the hardest things that I've ever done in golf was handing my coach that scorecard while I was on the front page of the local newspaper. 94.
Oof.
94. My first qualifying round of college was 94, and I'm on the front page of the newspaper. Yeah, this guy's going to help win the national championship. I've got a lot of work to do. So.
Bust.
Yeah, but it was the same thing again. It was like, if I want to do this and want to make it successful, it was like the only option I've got is to just keep beating golf balls. And
Sure.
Got figured out a little bit, a couple of weeks, and won a couple of college tournaments, and then
That's the score I shot the first time I wore all white. And I never wore all white again. This is a dumb idea. Head to toe. All white. Never again.
I've never wore that before now.
Yeah, don't. Bad idea. We'll shoot 94 again.
Yeah, I got these a couple of weeks ago, and I made the mistake of wearing them one time when it was after it rained, so they got ruined. So I spent about 30 minutes cleaning before I came here today. Yeah.
So how long did it take you to get adjusted to the new conditions? I know you said a couple weeks, but like, what was the
Yeah, I mean,
process before you back to shooting low scores?
realistically, it was probably month and a half, and that's month and a half of, because I mean, I came here with, I think I had $200 in my bank account, so I couldn't do anything, go anywhere. None. It was basically just we had access to the country club, and it was the same again. It was just beating golf balls, and that's what I've always done, and figured it out pretty quick. And I think I won the second tournament in Andrews, which was a complete turnaround. It was like the crazy part for me was how far the ball flies over here.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about the wind earlier, like growing up playing in like St Andrews and the old course and that type of stuff, and like you're not really focusing on the game. You're more focusing on trying to be warm, and your hands are freezing. And I was telling him I had TP11s when I was younger, and the heads on them are like that size.
Yeah.
So if you slap one of them out the toe, like you're hurting for the next 3-4 holes. So that was a completely kind of, again, culture shock. But the ball flies a lot easier through the hot air than it does the cold air, which kind of helped a little bit. And I actually went back to Scotland there in November, and it kind of reminded me why I moved to America, because I'm like, this sucks. It's so cold. All you're doing, you're not thinking about like
Hitting
anything
108-yard pitching wedges.
Exactly. It's like, how quickly can I get off this golf course? Yeah.
I mean, I have a little bit of that growing up in Portland, Oregon, and I think similar to like going from a West Coast town that's rainy, dreary, especially during the winter months. It's very much Scottish weather. And then you get here in the summer, and I've found of all the places I've lived in the U.S. that the difference between winter conditions and summer, like the ball travels, it's such a wide range of yardages. I feel like more so than any other climate I've lived in the Midwest.
A big one for me too is, again, the elevation. So we put a tournament in Ruidoso, New Mexico, and we played a par 5 and hit this drive, and it went like 370 or something. I'm like, that's strange. And I think I'd like 220 yards into the hole, and coach is like, hit wedge. And I'm like, what are you talking about hit wedge? There's no way I can hit wedge there. Hit wedge, and it just sailed and landed right in the middle of the green. And I'm like, how's that possible? Didn't realise that we were that far up in the mountains when we were playing a golf tournament. So
Sure.
all of this was completely new to me. Took a lot of getting used to. But again, I'm glad I made the decision to move to the sunshine rather than...
I love that your response to hitting a 307-yard drive was, that's strange. Or awesome.
Yeah. But it's that weird way when you play in New Mexico, it's like you normally hit a shot and it kind of goes up and it comes back down, but like over there it's like it goes up and then it like keeps going up and it keeps going up and you're like, is this going to come down at any point? So yeah, that took a lot of getting used to as well, but yeah.
So did you guys end up winning a national championship?
We did not. What did we finish? I think we finished like maybe 4th or 5th or something. But the I was leading the national championship after 1 round and 7 holes, and then there was a par 4, par 3, par 4, lots of water, and I went 7, 5, 7. And that kind of ruined my national championship. Yeah. It's like, no,
not ideal.
Have I got enough golf balls left?
To be clear, they didn't have any par 7s.
Yeah, no.
Right. Got it. Yeah.
4-3-4, yeah.
Yeah, but we had a pretty successful team, and Abraham Answer went through that college right before I got there.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. Huh. And we got our team to, I don't know how long ago it was before we got there, but we got them to number 1 in the nation, and they're still doing pretty well. So
that guy is like super clean cut.
Yeah.
He almost doesn't look real.
Looks like a race car driver.
Yeah, he does. He looks
Yeah,
like
it's
an F1
true.
driver.
F1 driver, yeah. Yep.
That's spot on, actually.
It is, yeah.
And it's the same with him too. It's kind of strange how he's went from, I mean, met him one time and he didn't really speak that much English, and then he's went from that to hanging out with Mark Wahlberg and
Oh, really?
punting.
Oh, he's become a big star.
Yeah, they're punting tequila. We've got a tequila company together.
That's right, yeah.
Yep. I know he's on a live tour, so who knows how much money he's been given to do that. So, yeah.
If it lasts much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're losing money on a weekly basis. Kinda.
Yeah.
They just showed
Support it.
the details of, like, if you break their contracts. I guess someone leaked that stuff. and
3 or
it's
4 times over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like Brooks would have to pay back like $400 million or something crazy to break his contract, and it's like, dang, man.
Yeah, I kind of thought there would be something like that. I thought it would be a bit more violent than 3 or 4 times the contract, but there might be more to it, but I don't know. But
It's true. It's Saudi money, so maybe they'll
it's unlimited
take
too,
your
but
family too, and
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
ransom.
like, yeah, there's going to be something seriously goes wrong, but yeah.
Yeah.
Where does that all go, though? I mean, just LIV and whatnot. Does that have a long future just because of like
can't see
PGA
it
Tour
having
players that don't feel like they can compete at the PGA Tour level, so they kind of use that as a backstop eventually?
I mean, they're not generating money,
Yeah.
so I don't.
And
I
it's
don't
a
know how
and it's a
survives.
business.
It is a
business doesn't
business.
generate
Yeah.
money.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
the main difference with that business is the funds are pretty much unlimited until oil runs out, I guess.
Right.
Well, yeah.
So they're going to be funded
It's
for a
not
while.
self-sustaining. It's being
Yep.
funded. Yeah.
But the strange thing I've kind of noticed that right from the start as well is it's all about this Saudi, this Saudi, this Saudi, this, but you never ever see any Saudis there. It's like you would think they would want to like promote the product or something. It's like
Where are the Saudis?
yeah, it's like where are they at? It's basically just paying.
Where's your proof?
They're sitting at home counting their money. That's where they're at.
I mean, it's
maybe.
just basically paying guys a boatload of money to wear golf shorts and not really abide by the rules of golf. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the only good that's come from it, it's forced the PGA Tour to adapt some things.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was the one thing that I liked was the idea that it would just make them rethink.
Mm-hmm.
Not in support of LIV, but
Right.
it's always good to have the pot shaken up, stirred up a little bit here or there.
Right.
Yeah,
Just have
you've now got me thinking about Rory McIlroy. I don't want to go down that route, but here we are. So
Want another beer?
yeah, get them rolling. This could be a long night. So growing up playing a couple of tournaments with him, and he was this little short, heavy kid with an afro and Northern Irish. And
That's true.
he was a real,
Not about the hair.
he was a real Irishman. He was just the same as Shane Lowry, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then he's now coming out and he's saying all this stuff, and he's probably getting paid for it somewhere or another. But he talks about this getting large amounts of money to play golf, and the first big contract he signed, Nike gave him $250 million.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the largest at the time, right?
Yeah, it's
Of
like-
all- yeah.
It's more than any of the rest of them, and Liv's getting paid.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a little bit two-sided.
yeah, it's
And
Yeah.
Bubba has already exposed the fact that he was getting appearance fees. And if not to knock on Bubba, but if a player of his stature is getting appearance fees, we knew Tiger was back in his heyday. Like
as
he was
well he
getting,
should.
yeah, he
Right.
was getting paid to go over to the Saudi tournament. I'm forgetting what that one's called at this point for some reason. But he was making appearances in all kinds of places all over the world just to show up. And it's not like that just suddenly went away. And then again, with Liv kind of forcing the issue, like suddenly the PGA Tour announces all these changes to their events, and there's suddenly $86 million of, funds available to win through these tournaments just magically. I think there was something credible to what Phil was complaining about. He just has a terrible way of bringing his argument to light.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just not the most tactful.
It just seems to me that after like the Jack thing and the Tiger thing is like the main reason that you go on the PGA Tour or you do that stuff is to chase majors.
Yeah.
And obviously all these guys are getting paid a lot of money, but it just seems whenever you go do that, yes, you're getting a lot of money and you're living this crazy lifestyle, but I just think the level of golf's going to go down. You don't need to, you're not like
Did you see
Right.
that Fred Couples
chase a
comment?
legacy and all that.
On
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
That one was funny.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know, and you get guys like, had you guys talking about this last time, it was like the Cam Smith thing as well. It was like,
Yeah.
I mean, really? Just won the Open Championship and then you go jump ship? But
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was a little disappointing because
was
I was
weird.
excited to see him on the tour kind of pursuing those types of championships, and obviously they're still eligible to play all the majors, right? They're not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I'm tuning in. I'm an avid golfer. I'm a fan of the game. I'm not going to watch the Honda Classic. Doesn't draw interest. Like the product of the game of golf is incredibly boring. We just recently saw Major League Baseball,
Okay.
which
for
I
the
don't.
for the viewer. He's
For the
not,
viewer,
he's
I'm
not
saying.
wrong.
I'm
Yeah.
saying for the viewer. Now, we saw Major League Baseball institute some changes with like a pitch clock and stuff. And opening day yesterday, all the games except 4 were under 2 hours, 30 minutes. And the year prior, there was one from opening day that was under that time frame. So you can see like adapting to viewership because as the audience gets younger and younger, there's going to be changes that have to happen. And I think that's the problem with golf and baseball is they are the slowest professional ranks to make changes and adjustments.
Yep.
It seems like, and that's why I've been a fan of this dynamic because I don't really care about Liv. I haven't watched a lick of it, but it's cool to see it's forcing changes and it's forcing discussions. But I think like you, I'm not a fan that of the fact that it seems like Rory has become the PGA Tour's puppet to just go out there and give them the memos.
To be honest, it annoys the hell out of me when he starts that stuff. It's like just if you go to another place that does golf lessons, like why does that really affect you? Why does he care?
Right.
I mean, why does
Yeah.
he care?
That's
I mean, it's like just
we talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
be quiet and practice putting. If you practice
Why we-
putting, you'll be the best player ever to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just
Sure.
made a putter change, didn't he?
Yep. And there you go. He started making putts. He went to a Scotty Cameron.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, which was hilarious because some journalist on the Golf Channel was talking about the change. I saw this clip on like Instagram or something. Did you see that? He's like announcing that Rory is trying another putter, and he won't use the name brands.
Right.
He's like, yeah, he's going from his current manufacturer's putter to a different manufacturer's putter, and it's like, are you not allowed to say TaylorMade and Scotty Cameron on TV?
Well, maybe not.
Like in reference to Rory, like is that against
contract? Maybe it's like I don't know. They're afraid to expose contract details.
the Golf Channel?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why that has any bounds for them, but
Well, that's what I've always stated as a consumer of golf equipment. They should be able to disclose what the contracts are to these players.
Might depend on who their sponsors are.
Like if Callaway's statement is we're the number one driver on tour, then disclose how many of these guys are being paid.
Yeah.
we're the number one sold driver.
Right. Like
That's the thing too. Is they're basically just using these deals to sell new drivers.
Pretty much.
Same as TaylorMade's the biggest one for it. They've got a
That's
new
the
driver
biggest
every 6
margin.
months, and it's the same one, just a different color face on it. And all of them break, because that's another one. We talk about that stuff. So,
Oh, thank God you said it. I didn't want to have to.
so I
There's a reason Rory switched.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah. So,
especially at those ball speeds. I mean,
Yeah.
it works for a guy that's 150.
yeah, and that's fine. But it's like I went and switched. I went to staff with TaylorMade after I finished college, and I mean, it's been a while since this happened, but in the past 3 years, I've had that driver now for a year, but the 2 years before that, I had 8 drivers. Callaway and TaylorMade just break all the time. But I don't think they're designed for hitting 1,000 golf balls a day.
Yeah.
Right, and it's not like you're getting stuff off the tour truck.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
You need to wait for warranty and all that other stuff as well.
Right.
That's why we go back to Titleist and stick to that.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, I don't blame you there, but that's the other thing too that we've all seen is that it's not as if Rory's playing something that TaylorMade has built him. You know, I mean, especially with the iron stuff. Like we know Tiger's irons back in the day were something other than a Nike,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yep.
And so it's not like
Well,
again,
that's
it's
not
not like
secretive.
that's it's not, no, it's not. I'm just stating that that's clearly at least for the top maybe 30 in the world. You know, it's still price effective for those guys to
Mm-hmm.
make something specific for those high profile players and then slap their logo on it.
But also, durability isn't a concern for a tour player.
True.
They're
Yeah.
getting replacement constantly.
Yeah.
And most times,
So
the average golfer pays
yeah.
$500-600 for a driver, and it's like
Yeah.
a massive investment for them. You know what I mean?
'Cause
Yeah.
They don't make PGA Tour level income.
Exactly.
That's like an actual decision.
Guy works in Walmart and saves
Yeah.
up for like
Yeah.
6 months to buy that driver.
Yeah.
And face caves in on it.
deceives his wife for it and everything.
Yeah. Seen it happen. yeah. But it's weird to think back in that stuff as well. Like, and then I thought about this too. Like, you look at like Jack Nicklaus and stuff. He didn't have any of the all the stuff you guys do with the swing and all. He was talking to me some numbers in that room back there, and I'm like, no idea what any of this stuff means. Just hitting it that direction and hope it goes the
Well,
right distance.
Right.
Actually, we're technically relatively low tech
Very.
compared to the
By-
modern.
by today's
yeah, I
standards,
mean,
dude?
by today's
Really?
standards,
Yeah.
we stick to a lot of. I mean, like using video, for example, is pretty basic
Yeah.
today.
Yep.
That's pretty basic. Everyone's into like pressure mats and K-vests and 10,000 sensors all over your body. And it's just like, why? Like, why? Why do we need all this shit? Like even having a simulator is information overload.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
You're
I
just like-
don't look at half of it. Yeah.
Well, and the part of the problem is like you have about 28 parameters that describe the same thing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's like you can impress people with numbers, and that's the whole shtick with instruction. Usually, is like the way you get clients is you impress them with your technology. And I've always thought like, why not just be a good coach?
Yeah, that blows my
Like,
mind. Like,
it's
that,
like
there's a couple of times over the years that people have talked to me about that stuff and talk about spin rates and talk about this and that. And I went to get fitted for my first set of Titleist irons at St Andrews right like a couple of months before I moved to this country. And it was one of those machines that started about when you hit the ball, it flashed blue. I don't know if you know what that was, but anyway, that was kind of like the launch monitor at that time, 2010. And it was like swinging it really well. The ball was going a little bit left. Now give me the other shaft. Swinging it goes a little bit right. Give me the other shaft. Not interested in numbers and that stuff. Got the X100, straight. Okay, I'll use that one. And then you look at Jack Nicklaus. I watched one of his putts was on TV last night, and he's standing over there and he's jabbing at it and he's doing all that stuff. It's like it's not. It's all just confidence, really. And it's like same with me, like, learning how to play the game with that one club.
Yeah.
I didn't have any other option. So if the shaft was wrong for it, I had to figure it out.
that's why I said that's purist golf, though.
Yeah,
Like,
it
but
is.
but the fact is most golfers are hobbyist golfers that aren't ever going to understand that level of
And
feel.
they're trying to buy a golf
yeah.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Which-
know that.
I mean, do you think a little bit, Chris, like that's a little culture too? Because I feel like,
Tinkering, you mean?
well, I think Americans, one of my best friends is Scottish too, and we've talked about this
Yep.
before. And,
Yeah.
Hey, it's
And that-
Americans.
Merc. But he talks about, one, how slow he has to talk while he's over here.
Welcome to my life.
Right. But two, just in our casual conversations about golf, of how, Americans definitely like everything sensationalized, right? And so to John's point, like the bells and whistles, the numbers, the tech, like that's almost a product of trying to wow the client instead of
Which is
leading with
annoying.
quality instruction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because and it's not a lot, but we run into that occasional, like, well, what type of tech do you have? Like, maybe that happens a couple times a year. The reality is,
Maybe more than that.
it's, well, at least in my experience, the reality is if you're showing them valuable insight and then backing it up with video where you can kind of help remove the doubt of how awkward a new setup is and blah, blah,
Yep.
blah,
Yeah.
then you're helping them kind of confirm some information at minimum, and then assisting them along that path. So we're really, pragmatic about the information we're trying to give any golfer, because
Yep.
you're also a little different in that you developed incredibly fast and became a really well-rounded golfer at a young age.
Yep. And again, that there was no technology involved in that. There was no rock shafts. There was none of this. It was like,
Right.
it was basically just beat golf balls until you figure it out. And probably maybe the shafts that I had on my clubs when I was growing up were wrong, but I hit that many golf balls and figured it out.
Yeah.
And it's the same for me. Like I tried to do coaching a little bit when I was doing the assistant pro thing, and it just infuriated me. It's like, just keep your eye on the golf ball and aim that way. You know what I mean? It's like that's the way that I learned how to play the game.
Right.
And then when he was doing those numbers earlier, I'm like, what the hell does all this mean? Like, I've got no idea. I just know for a fact that I hit that 6-iron 206 yards, and it went 206 yards. And it's like, you've hit that many of them that's the way that it works.
Right.
And I was telling him earlier too, was like when I first went for the coaching when I played for my country, I kind of got in there late because they normally pick you up as a kid and kind of coach you and kind of move you into the kind of different ranks when it comes to the international team. But I got there late because I won like 3 or 4 tournaments that one year. And it was like, hey, you go in and you kind of basically fit in with all these guys that have been doing the same stuff for years. And I get there and they're doing the stack and tilt. And so they're all in the range and they're talking about these points. They're like, hey, where are you at? Point 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think like 8 was impact. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like, there's no chance I'm going to do this.
And head case.
That's it. Yeah. It's like, you guys are on nuts. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
and when that stuff goes wrong, it just blows your mind. And then your
Yeah.
golf game goes to crap.
Well, what's funny is like this environment to you is, like you said, it's more than you're used to, more information you're used to, and like we have enough time put in. I do, especially to know like we are literally on like we're on the bottom end of technology use and
Very.
like information
Really? I didn't
delivery.
know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying. Like the information, I totally agree with that because we're, like you said, very pragmatic. We approach coaching, and you got to understand part of coaching, especially for the lower end golfer, is half of it ain't about the golf swing.
Yeah, no.
Right.
It's about playing the game.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
they don't even understand how to
Enjoying it and being
manage
positive.
18 holes. You know. And
Yep.
it's just some of it's as simple as some people have awful coping mechanisms and
But the way that
mental game.
the way that I done it and the way that I learned it is whenever like YouTube and stuff first come out, it was like I started looking at like my superheroes Tiger Woods, right? So you want to swing it like him. And then you were looking at like Jack, you look at Freddie Couples for tempo, and you're kind of watching all these different swings. Yes, they swing it different, but it's like there must be certain things that they're all doing
Commonalities.
similar.
That's
right?
what we talk a
You
lot
bet.
about.
And that's it, right?
Yeah,
and then I'm
absolutely.
like,
yeah.
back then when I was doing this stuff, whenever Tiger Woods started snap hooking the driver, he would swing back and his head would go down, he'd pick up and snap hook it left.
Yep.
Like, how did Sean Foley, well, Sean Foley's a different deal, but like, I mean, how
I have
did
the
he
same-
not notice
yeah.
that? You know what I mean?
Probably because he never unbuttoned his top button.
Probably.
His glasses
Couldn't
are too
breathe.
thick or something, I don't know.
No, I'm with you on that, dude. There's some certain things about Tiger that, especially the transition to Sean, that made no sense. And John and I have talked about this before, where it was like he has back problems, and yet you got him more upright and increased his lag, which just increases the tension in the low back, and his head still drops a half a foot with driver. Like, how
All
are
he's-
you not recognizing these
All
things?
he's going to do is pick up and hit it left. And That's
Right.
what he done at the Open Championship that time, and he shot 81 or something. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 16-year-old kid and I'm noticing this happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things where like, that's how I figured out how to do the game. And it was like, if your head doesn't move the whole time until you get to like here, then you pick up. And it's like, wow. And if you watch guys, watch guys that kind of fold in a golf tournament, most of the time that head's moving off the ball. They're trying to see where it goes. They're nervous. They're doing that stuff. So for me, it's alignment, grip, and keeping your eye on the golf ball. It's the most. And everyone says, "Oh, that's the." Everyone says that, but it's your hands and eyes working together. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's
And-
a lot of truth in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much.
Because we
so.
come back to those things all the time.
Yeah.
you know, and keeping your eye on the ball, or AKA keeping your head still, is that's hard to teach someone who's not flexible.
Yeah.
So like,
It's also the most
you-
important thing
yeah,
in golf.
it is. So with no mobility, you're like, well, we have two options. You either start doing yoga every day, or you're not allowed to take any more full swings. Like we're going 3/4 knockdowns just to keep you from moving, you know?
Yeah, I mean, watching those guys doing that stack and tilt stuff, and I was like, your minds are so all over the place.
Yeah.
And then you watch someone like Adam Scott's swing or Justin Rose's swing, you're like, it's square, 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 grip's perfect, everyone's good, head staying down, perfect shots all the time.
Yeah.
And especially the guys that have got really good short games, like look at Bubba Watson. It just proves to you that his hand and eye coordination is unbelievable because he swings it all over the place.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
Why not slice it 80 yards? It's fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fun.
If you can control it.
But confidence, like
That's it,
that,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
all
proves that so much of it has nothing to do with. That's why you don't need to hit a straight ball flight. If
You
you
don't,
really
yeah.
trust what you're doing,
Mhm.
you can sling it over the adjacent hole. Who gives a shit?
Yep.
Which I think
Bring it
is
all the way
just,
back.
yeah.
It's not how, it's how many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think is just inherent when you're born and then you grow over 6'4". There is just a confidence with tall
You don't know
fuckers
how
like
that
you.
And, and do you know what? That,
Have
that,
this confidence walking into a room because I'm way taller than you.
that,
And Bubba has that attitude, man. Like you
That's it,
can't
yeah.
deny that. Like anybody you've met over 6'4" just has this confidence about them, no matter what the hell they're doing.
you're
I
looking
think my
down.
favorite.
Yeah.
I think my favorite Bubba moment was when we went to the Waste Management years back. That was right when I proposed to Christina.
Mm.
And we were like on the tee, and he blasts a drive like 340 with a 80-yard fade. I should call it a slice.
Slice. Yeah.
And it's, yeah,
Power
but,
fade.
and like ball lands, and he immediately goes, "So I was at home jumping my golf cart," and then like immediately goes into this
Just telling stories.
Like, this is awesome. Like, because I didn't realize how much these guys just shoot the shit. Like, you know,
Oh, it's incredibly
ball
casual.
lands, they're out of it.
Yep.
You know, I mean, most of them weren't Tiger level focus, like where you're on for 4 hours.
I don't think people
It's in
understand
and out, in and
how
out, in and out.
rare that is, though. Like,
Yeah.
not
It's
I-
not. Well, it's, yeah. never
caddying
happens.
and being around other tour professionals. It is so rare. You see a,
be
a-
on
a
all the time,
professional
you mean?
golfer that is just laser. Not
Yeah.
not everybody's Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
just like
Yep.
Well, because
one
it's
job.
probably it's not natural.
it isn't.
It's hard to be focused.
And I
that
think
intensely.
what I've realized too in coaching is that the majority of the casual golf that's played or amateur golfers have to have a relaxed mindset.
Yeah.
Because coming from team sports like playing college basketball, like I could use that intensity and channel it because you're burning energy,
Yep.
running up and down the court. You know, you're getting rid of some of that
you
anxiety.
could throw an elbow.
You can
Yeah. Can't do that in golf.
well, maybe just the one time. You're gonna get it, Bobby. But no, like with golf, there's no outlet for that, and if you're not organized mentally, you're exposed immediately. The moment you step in, like we go back to that U.S. Open qualifier I played at Creekmore in 2019, and we had a kid withdraw after 9 holes because he had one blow-up hole
Mhm.
and decided that was too much for him.
I mean, it was rough. I think he bladed like 4 wedges.
He took a 9, man. Like it was the stupid part is
Yeah.
the other guy in the group blew up on the first hole on 10.
Yeah.
Then he did it 6 holes later. Then I'm starting to think like, oh, is it going to happen to me? And of course, 2 holes later, it fucking happens to me.
Yep.
You
That's
know,
it.
it's like, oh, great. You know, I got the disease.
which clearly
But the one thing that I've noticed over the years and years and years, if you go to a driving range on any golf course on the planet, less than 0.1% of those people are working on alignment. So you're standing there, like,
Yeah.
Yep.
nobody's got alignment sticks down, nobody's working on it, they're
Right.
just not doing it. And then you see it so many times they're on the driving range and they hit this big slice and they're like, God damn that. And they're throwing
Yeah.
club and you're like, you just hit the perfect golf shot for the way you're set up. You
Yeah.
just don't know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
the only
like-
training aid I endorse.
Yeah, and that's
Is a
it.
stick.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the one thing that I done, just and it works, right? So for probably, I started using it a lot more whenever I was kind of finished college. But what I was doing is you've got that parallel kind of train track type deal, right?
Yeah.
But I was putting the alignment stick down on the left hand side and putting my feet here, so I was automatically always aiming right. So if you look at some of my like swing videos online and stuff, you'll see that my feet are aiming right because my feet are aiming parallel directly to the target, but my ball's aiming 2 or 3 yards to the right. So I would subconsciously kind of come over the top or either pull it or hit that slice. And see, once I figured that out to kind of get it going back to
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
like straight down the line.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that because the simplicity of how difficult alignment is in golf is that you're adjacent to your target.
That's it.
It's
Yeah.
like that dumb.
Yeah.
And you just need to spend more time like going through alignment routines, because obviously like on the course you can't use that. So you need to teach people how to like create solid visual cues and target lines so they know how to do that.
And there was a lot of times as well when I would be playing a tournament, I would set up that way and my feet would be kind of directly in line with the flag. I would stand over the shot and I would look down my line and the flag would be back here. So I would kind of back off it again and pick that little spot and set myself up around the club.
Yeah.
The funny story about a guy was coaching in Texas one time. He were kind of working on alignment and stuff, and he's the same deal, cowboy boots and cowboy hat, trying to learn how to play golf. And I was like, "You go hunting?" He's like, "Yeah, I go hunting all the time. I go deer hunting and all that stuff." I was like, "Well, why the hell would you aim the gun over here when the deer's over there?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." But it's the most simple thing in the world to do, right? I mean, it's like you're not going to aim it. You're not going to hit it in that direction if you're aiming over there.
You know, he went hunting the next time. And he was
100%.
like,
Is this going to work? Trying to hit a draw with an AK-47. Yeah.
yeah, we enjoy practical instruction too.
That was the hardest part for me when I was doing it. I've never done it too much, but like what I've noticed from most of your club pros, and I've kind of been around it a little bit, is they'll try and tell you this little move here and that'll be $50, and this little move here will be next week and that'll be $50, and it just seems to buy a block of 10 lessons. Whereas for me, I'm like, aim it that way and keep your eye on the golf ball, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why my coaching stuff didn't really take off. So just do it the way I do it and you'll be fine. Well, I can't do that.
I think there's an in between. I don't disagree with you. I think it's part of the problem is it's personal, because just some people are not that aware.
Yeah. And another one too
And
is
it's not that like you don't want to give them the whole thing.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's
mean-
like you do. It's just like you realize some people aren't athletic. They don't have the capability.
Yep.
So you're kind of forced to have a process with them.
Yeah, but the other one too is I get a lot, even now, it's like you got a pitch from here to here, and like, how do you hit that pitch? And I'm like, I can hit that pitch like 400 different ways. Like, which one do you want to do? And they're like, really? Because they just think it's a basic, straightforward pitch. And it's like, depends on the slope, depends on the grass, depends on the grain, depends on so many different things. But you'll never figure that out unless you hit 5 million of those shots at a different way. And if you watch Tiger practicing, I'll do it like, especially at Augusta, he's going up, he's going low with spin, he's kind of putting cut spin on it, draw spin on even little pitches, and that's why he wins.
That's something we run into in coaching, is people that are afraid to practice the wrong things, which is like idiotic.
Yeah, no,
It's like that. It literally is how you learn.
I learn so much more by duffing it than I do by hitting 100 perfect golf shots.
You bet.
Yep.
Yeah, you
It's
learn
a classic
through the mistakes.
failure thing.
Yeah.
But it's the truth.
Because we'll do a little tech, and I love teaching short game technique in here, because then as the coach, it's like, all right, now go do this for 90 hours,
And they're like, nope,
right?
we'll be back in 2 weeks and I've not hit one shot in between.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
well,
It's a real problem.
we've
Expect
been
to be good at it.
we've been around long enough now to where you can start to weed through the people that are intentional and serious, even as amateurs, even as new golfers, right? Our whole issue is, I don't care how good you are. It's just, are you motivated to improve?
Mhm.
Like if you're intentional and you want to get better, great. You become really easy to work with.
Yeah, but it's
don't
funny
care
how
if you're a
the
bad
wealthier the person is, they think they can just buy a bunch of brand new equipment, get a couple of lessons, and yep, I'm good to go.
It can be
It's
that.
I
It's
think
more a type A personality
Yeah.
of, I need this immediately.
Yeah, I'd say it's deeper than that.
Yeah,
it's more like this person has had a hard time with process and being persistent with many things in their life, not
But-
just golf.
But what I notice as well, like being in like the high end country club space, where most of the guys over there are kind of successful businessmen, like lawyers, doctors, all this stuff, and they must have needed to have done processes in their business and all that type of stuff. It's like,
Yep.
this is your
In that,
getaway.
yeah.
Like, why not put all of that experience you've got here into your golf game, and it'd be 10 times better? And they're like,
I'm curious.
I think golf's a hobby purely for them.
It is,
They don't look at
but
it.
they
yeah, but
don't
you still don't want to
see it
make
that way.
bogeys and doubles every time you go.
They don't give a shit.
Yeah, well, some of them don't. Yeah,
They don't give a shit.
I'm curious. Is sports psychology a thing in the UK?
and not really.
I didn't think so.
I mean, when you're high end athletes, but like growing up, it's kind of, especially in the area that I was in, and even like in Ireland with Rory and all them, like it's like you can't afford it. Whereas over here, it's a
Okay.
completely different
Yeah.
way of life, and that's why I'm doing it now. But it's like you just figure it out yourself. You know what I mean? You need to figure it out yourself.
Well, I've just
That's
noticed
a little bit like growing up on a farm.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that with my friends that, are from South Africa or Ireland or Scotland, that personality trait seems to be like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, you've got no other option. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's the same as like when I moved to this country as well. It's like, am I going to take the risk? Am I going to do it, or am I going to back down and work in the same job for 30 years and then complain about my mental health?
I would argue that, over broad generalization, but in the United States we have a real problem with accountability right now. A lot of whining
and a lot of
not a lot of just taking care of shit.
And the one thing that I notice as well is that parents over here, they give their kids too much. I mean, like most of the people that I went to college with and stuff, it was like, oh yeah, my parent. I don't think I met anyone that had bought their first car themselves. I mean, whereas most of the people where I'm from, the parents don't have the ability to do that. So it's like, if you want to drive, you get a job and figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Which builds long-term character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same as the getting on an airplane and moving to the other end of the planet. Like, I could have done the same as what most of these other guys have done and went, oh yeah, I miss my grandmother, and then fly home.
Yeah.
No. Like, I've seen those mansions, I've seen those country clubs, I've seen all this, like, this is where I want, and it's sunny. It's the first time I'd seen the sun for the first time in 23 years. Like, I mean, why would you not want to move to this country? That was another big thing about moving up here. So when I moved up here, basically just packed my stuff from Texas and drove up here. Never been to Missouri before. And it was kind of, 2 days ago was my year anniversary here. But that winter there was tough for me because it was like I've been basically 11 years of all year round golf, sunshine, and
I bet
it was like, come on. So that's why we started doing the X golf stuff and the indoor stuff. But for me, it's not the same.
Sure.
Yeah, that was kind of tough. But it's kind of reminded you a little bit of back home.
It's definitely more seasonal.
But the thing about the mindset change on that too is that, like, I never had the option of playing. Well, you get a couple of weeks in the summer, but it's like if it's raining and not super heavy, the golf course is packed.
Right.
Whereas now I've flipped that mindset
Nobody
to
plays in the rain here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Which is a Midwestern thing. Because, again, growing up in Portland, if you don't play in the rain, you don't play a lot of golf.
you don't play a lot of golf.
So it's funny to me. Now, I won't play in 20 degrees like people will here.
Yep.
They'll put heaters in their carts, and I'm just like, no, the ball hurts coming off the club. I'm not playing.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. So, and that's just because I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm like, it's not enjoyable. I'm not having fun. I'm out there and I'm miserable. So
That's what it was like when I went back to Scotland. It's been a long time since I played golf in Scotland, and like, yeah, it was cool to go to St Andrews and do all that stuff, but it was like, this sucks. Like, get me on a plane and get me back to the heat. Like,
It's a good way to stay away from overanalyzing your golf game, though.
oh yeah, no,
You're just like, don't die. This is awful.
yeah, and it's so windy as well. You're hoping you don't get blown out of the sea and all that. Like, it's just like you're not focusing on your golf game, and it's kind of weird how you think back on learning the game and kind of being passionate about the game, being positive about the game. Why the hell did I do that? I must have been nuts to like literally walk to the golf course 45 minutes, practice when it was dark, walk to the bus stop, walk back to the golf course, practice right till it was dark, every single day for years. And then you live here and it's like 40 degrees and I'm like, not happening today. It's weird. Like, that mindset change is nuts. It's weird.
Well, it's also age.
Yeah.
You
And there's
get
also
older.
that too, yeah.
You get older and you get less tolerant.
circulation.
Get a little more intelligent.
Arthritis at 34.
Yeah, we'd be playing tournaments. We played tournament Southern S one time and we were doing push-ups and star jumps in the fairway when we were waiting and stuff to try and just keep heat in you.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking about your next shot doing that stuff.
No, I don't imagine so.
Yeah.
We should implement that in that training.
Right. No kidding.
Also
Doing
looks
enough
like-
push-ups in your rounds.
When we were down in Myrtle Beach, you got 4 months out of the year where it's over 100 degrees every day.
Yeah.
It's just
That
Try
was
and
different.
try and stay cool, drink enough water, and just run out of the shade to
Don't-
hit your shot.
Don't die.
Yeah, don't die.
Don't die, yeah.
Yeah.
Some
Survival.
of my best rounds were during those times where I'm not thinking about the golf.
Yeah.
Just reacting athletically to the ball and just trying to.
Yeah.
That
not
was
have a heat
another
stroke.
another strange mindset as well. The first time that I walked out of my dorm room in college and I'm like, I'm not playing golf today, it's too hot. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, you'd have told me that when I was 13, 14 years old, beating golf balls in the rain and snow.
Praying for heat.
Because that was one of the things that we got every year was we always got orange golf balls for Christmas. And we would go to the golf course when it's that much snow. What was wrong with us? Do you know what I mean?
You realize you still can't see it when it's.
Yeah, I know. And we'd spend 20 minutes trying to find it and then whack it again. And,
Just gotta look for the hole that it makes.
yeah.
That's so
But then the ball's like that much above your feet because it's sitting on top of the snow. And then,
You hook everything.
yeah, it's so weird sitting here thinking back about that stuff. And like,
I
that's how
bet.
you learn the game.
yeah.
But again, you had no other choice. There's no other option. There was no country clubs. The big one for me is being here now is the pyramid of golf balls in the driving range.
Mhm.
That blows my mind.
Mm.
I had to go and find the golf balls first, then go back and then hit them, and then they were all plugged in the dirt. And then had to go dig them all out, and then had to go back and wipe them all down and hit like hours and hours and hours I'd spend doing this stuff.
I had a similar upbringing, like probably not as hardcore, but just growing up in a farm, not in a golf family.
Yep.
Kind of middle nowhere, Iowa. We grew up. I mean, so golf and like pros and like all the environments you're talking about were absent to me too.
Yep.
So it was
All of us.
It was
sounds
very,
like.
but I think it really makes you better off for it.
100%. And then
Yeah, you work
it's more
for it.
pure.
Yep.
It's just more.
and
simple.
that was the big thing too, is whenever you started getting the recognition, you started winning golf tournaments. And the big one for me is whenever I got the letter through the door to say that I was playing in the European Boys Championships. We played that in Lake Como in Italy, 2005. And again, like, not a wealthy upbringing, kind of struggling. My dad was struggling for everything the whole time deal. And then you go and you win 4 or 5 tournaments, and a limousine shows up in my street. There's never been a limousine in my street ever. The limousine picked me up, took me to the most fancy suit place in Glasgow city centre, fitted me with the most fancy suit from Slater's. They gave me socks with the Scotland logo on it. They gave me golf shoes. They gave me golf balls. They gave me underwear. They gave me kitted you at the whole thing. And you're walking through the airport with it. It's like it was the best feeling in the world. And it's like
I bet.
all of that stuff that you've done is kind of paid off.
Yeah.
Mm.
And if everything was handed to me, and like even you see some of the kids at the country club right now, it's like there's no structure, there's no nothing. They know they're going home to their 5 PlayStations, and they're 16 years old getting a fancy car. It's like they don't have that
We've
drive
had-
and that determination. You look at Rory McIlroy again, as him, his dad remortgaged the house like 4 or 5 times
Mm.
just for him to play golf tournaments.
Yeah.
And there was that determination. And then for him, it paid off a lot. So
We hear that from local golf coaches too sometimes,
Yes.
especially at the nicer high schools that are well funded and
Yep.
they are hosted at nicer clubs, and you hear that a lot. Like, I don't know how to get any of these kids
Yeah.
driven into it, and the answer is like, you won't.
you can't. And
You
then
won't. They're already too spoiled.
They don't
and
want for
entitled.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they
one of the
have all
big
their
problems
needs covered.
that I noticed here as well is that they'll put you in the schooling system here, but then they'll say, hey, play baseball, football, and golf, and then figure it out. Like, it's not going to work.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
I played football, real football, growing up, and it wasn't until
Oh, boy.
here we go. It wasn't until I picked up that club for the first time. It was like, because I was okay at football, but I was lanky and fell over the ball and all that stuff.
I was going to say standing in the goal didn't work for you, huh?
No. Once I figured out I was okay at golf, it was like, I'm sticking to this, and there was no other option.
Mm.
Whereas you hear kids that will be like, they're playing 3 different sports. How can you be top level athlete when you're playing 3 different things that are all really difficult?
My take on
think-
that
yeah.
is being hand-eye coordinated, that there is, I don't know if this exists in the UK or Scotland, but we have burnout here with young kids that are playing one sport year-round all the time.
But that to me,
But it happens too young.
yeah.
So for us, it's like grade 7, 8, 9. If you haven't figured out what direction you're going, like you better find that direction.
Yeah, but
if
I
you're
would argue-
playing multiple sports up to that point, then yeah.
To what he's saying, I would argue though that burnout isn't about the one sport. It's a lack of general patience. Because when you grow up with
You're
a
right.
freaking phone in your hands, you
Yep.
can play video games, and
Yeah,
you have
you're right.
10,000 different distractions.
True.
They're not burnt out because they're tired of playing one sport. It's because they have way too many distractions.
That's it. And, yeah, and
Yeah.
back
Even
then,
I
it's
did.
true. When we were
Yeah.
learning the game, we had
Yeah.
one golf club.
Yeah.
And like that was the only thing that we had.
Yeah.
And it's it's weird thinking back on it. It's like, why was I doing that?
Yeah.
And it was just love for the game. You know what I mean? That was it.
Well, and
Love for the
Slash
not-
boredom.
just saying this,
Yeah.
saying this.
Never had the damn
factually, but
laptop.
From your own words,
tablet or internet.
you didn't have much else.
Yeah, that's
Which
it.
I
yeah.
mean, like, best way to get people to appreciate something is to strip them of everything.
That's it. Yeah. Yep.
And
And
the problem is you don't have that around here a lot,
No, and
or in
I've
the
told-
U.S. in general.
I've told that story about myself, just because like I had a local park that after 6th grade, they put up no golfing signs because I was going to my park hitting golf balls,
Yep.
and it would hit off the little like church house or whatever. And so I was hitting wiffle balls in my front yard, or I was shooting hoops. It was one or the other.
Yep.
And golf was never looked at for me as like that's something I could do long term. I wasn't even the best on my high school team, so I didn't think there was a future there.
Yep.
At being 5'10", for some reason, I assumed like basketball was an option.
basketball.
You know. Like if I had your height, basketball would have clearly been the option.
I tried that in college. These legs can't jump. There's like zero muscle in them. I can't. Like I'm 6'6" and I can't even touch it by jumping as high as I can get. Like
Oh, good
seriously,
Lord.
yeah,
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
that's funny.
I can touch there.
Yeah, I can't. Like, I honestly, I can't. Like
I was dunking a
maybe
volleyball.
clip it a little bit, but I can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. So yeah, I think to your point, John, that's a good analyzation of that. Is just you kind of almost have this desperation when you grow up without things, and you're looking for an outlet or a future career. And when you have all this stuff at your disposal as a young kid, there's not a ton of motivation there. There just isn't.
And you're not going to find any.
No.
The only way that person succeeds is if it's 100% self-driven.
Oh yeah.
You're not lighting any fires.
Right. Which
That-
you do
that-
still find with people that are well enough off. I mean, we've had young
But
kids in
it's
here that get the work ethic
Self-driven,
part,
though.
but
Yeah.
their personalities are incredibly unique.
Mm.
And
Typically far more mature than their age.
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
always the commonality.
Yeah.
Is they're far more mature, because you see that even at the tour level. You know, the guys like Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth that win really early, well, they're way more mature than 19, 20-year-olds,
Yeah.
right? So
Or most 60-year-olds.
yeah. So that's a common trait is what's going to humble you enough to keep you hungry, and are you mature enough to handle the success?
But it's so hard as well, because like a lot of the guys you kind of were around most of the time, they're again business owners or wealthy, that type of stuff. It's like it's difficult to bring up a kid with the mentality that I had and some of these other guys had when they've got a mansion, when they're getting cars, because like basically the kids are getting penalised for the parents being successful.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that parent could have come from nothing.
Most of the
Like
time they
it's-
do. Yeah, most of the time they do.
right.
So it could be a good story, but it's like the only way that you prevent what you're talking about is your kid doesn't get anything. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
you-
the only.
you
That's
kinda-
it. Yeah.
You kind of hear, what is it, Shaq talk
Shaq,
about that
yeah.
a lot. Like
He's a good
he's
example.
a big, like, what's he always say? He's like, you don't get any of my money or something unless you got 3 degrees. I can't remember what he has
I
some
don't
kind
remember
of
the quote, but
tagline.
yeah.
But the point is, like, I achieved wealth, and he's always said funny shit like in podcasts where they're like, he's like, oh, Dad, we've got all this money. He's like, no, I have money.
I have all the money. Yeah.
You don't have shit. Like, you got to earn your own.
Earn it, yeah.
You got to go to school.
Yeah.
You got to learn. You got to earn your own money.
But I mean, that's the only way to avoid it.
Right.
You just hand it all off. So that's, yeah.
They have to learn how to like work. And I will say, as a parent of 2 young boys, like that's one of the things that I struggle with is like you want to give them the world.
That's it. Yeah.
And
And you have the ability to do it, so why wouldn't you?
right, you want to provide for them, but it's like, okay,
Then you have this conversation, you're like, oh shit.
but you
what do I
have to
do?
have. Well, some of it too is just as simple as consequences to decisions and actions,
Mm-hmm.
which we see a lack of. Like to John's point earlier, the accountability thing. That's a big deal. Like there's just very little accountability when it comes to all age groups,
Yep.
and even at 4 and 7 years old, we're trying to instill that in our boys now. Of like, okay, you decided to do this. Here's the consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yep.
And as a parent, that's really hard because you're just like, well, I have to stick to this because otherwise this is going to be a nightmare in years to come, right?
Mhm.
Now, before we move on, I would be remiss in saying that you are by far the best golfer I've ever seen with iron covers in his golf bag.
Yes. I
Here we
knew it was
go. Here we
coming.
go. Here we
I knew it was coming.
They're sitting right next to me. Well, of course we need to talk about it.
Now, I'm
Where am I gonna
just
start on
assuming
this
you're
one?
protecting your investment. Like that's the typical excuse we get.
So, yes. So I'm kind of OCD when it comes to cleaning, when it comes to everything across my whole life, and
Mm-hmm.
I spent basically all of my golfing career up till when did I get them? 2 years ago. Not having them.
Yeah.
And it was one of those deals where like I spend so much time, even growing up as a kid, like cleaning my clubs. I was always, before a tournament, cleaning them. Every groove needs to be perfect, whole thing.
Right.
But it was one of those deals where, like, I would pull that club out of the bag and I would see the little nicks on it, and it would annoy the hell out of me because they're like clean, but they've got those little nicks on it. And you ever had that feeling where the clubs fall off the back of the cart and you hear them?
Oh, that's
It's like
Yes.
or like when your wife curbs the wheel in the car or something, right? You get that.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore.
That's fair.
So if you look at this,
Oh my, here we go.
right? So look, here we go on the camera,
Yeah,
iron cover. They're 2 years old,
yeah.
and you play golf like almost every day.
pretty much every day. And it's
Clank.
Yeah, no, don't do that. And then it's one of those things as well. It's that confidence boost deal whenever you pull the club out the bag, and it's like every time I take this off, yes, it's kind of got a bad rap, but also every time I take that off, I'm like, that's cool. That's cool. So it gives you that extra bit of confidence whenever you're hitting the club.
Hey, you know what?
Insert-
you're a
insert-
trendsetter.
Insert Gollum, my precious.
Precious.
And the funny deal about this as well is that since I've kind of started doing that and had them, I've
You
had
don't care about your shafts, apparently.
they're fine. It's a carpet, they'll be fine. I've actually had more and more people go, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. So actually one of the members at the Deuce 2 days ago asked me for the link to them. So we're changing the game. We're changing the
Getting
game.
those
I
covers.
doubt it. But anyways,
But the way that I look at it too is I always say to everyone that kind of gives me stuff about it, it's like, let's go play, right?
Yeah.
And here's the deal: if you beat me, I'll take them off, and if I beat you, you buy a set. Nobody's ever took me up.
pretty
on it.
fair.
You've got the ultimate trump card there.
Nobody's took me up.
I have a
Yeah.
similar care of detail. Like I get it, not iron covers. So I haven't dipped that low, but like,
Damn,
driver,
okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But like,
No, you're not.
like you get people that come in here with like drivers and woods and putters, and they're clanking around in their bag, and it gives me a damn
That one
migraine
annoys
because
me.
I'm just like, what are you doing? You
Yep.
spent like thousands of dollars on this stuff.
So kind of rolling into the iron cover thing, which we get to the point where my clubs got stolen. We talked about this
Yes.
before.
Yeah. Right.
So I went down to the plaza. It was like 3 or 4 weeks after I moved here. Clubs were in the back of the car. Stayed at a friend's house down there, and get a email at like 5 a.m. Your bank card's been used at a gas station. I'm like, I'm in bed. I'm like, no. So I go outside, and every door in the car's open, the trunk's open, clubs are gone. I'm like, oh my god! And I know how long it's going to take me to get
It's
a
all
fully custom
locked.
set. I mean, well, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe you're not sure.
There was no marks on the car, so how they get in it, I don't know, or I left it unlocked. I don't know. Anyway, so I kind of chased it around about, tried to find out where they used the credit cards, all that type of stuff, and there was like 2 or 3 weeks went by, and I'm like, I'm just coming out of the golf season here. Like, I need golf clubs, and I can't get a fully custom set of Titleist like that pretty quick.
Right.
So we're sitting over in one of the bars over here, and it was kind of Facebook Marketplace, this, that. And one of the girls behind the bar, she's like, I hate people that steal. She's like, I'm going to find these. I'm like, nah, you're wasting your time. I was like, I'll just do the insurance on them, and we'll get a new set, and we'll just need to wait or whatever. And she kept coming back, and she's like, is that the head covers? And I'm like, yeah, it's the head cover, but it's the wrong shaft. And it was like 4 or 5 times, and I was like, stop it, you're wasting your time. She's like, I found them. So she found that set of clubs on Facebook Marketplace.
Wow.
And because the guy who had stole them had left, obviously they've got iron covers on them.
Right.
So when he was running down the street, they also didn't get damaged. So he had left the.
I get it. Holy shit.
I'm going to get you to buy a
That
set of
wasn't
iron covers.
pointed at me.
So
I'm gonna buy head covers for my irons tonight.
Just
Yep.
with an Imperial
I was-
logo on them.
yeah, you can get them custom too. So the guy who'd done it, he had left the alignment stick in the bag when he took the picture and posted them on there. It had the National Golf Club on it.
Oh my gosh.
So obviously were my clubs.
What an idiot.
I know, like, I mean,
Typical thief.
dumbest thief that's ever happened. So
Right.
the girl behind the bar had messaged the guy. She's like, hey, I'm looking for a set of clubs for my husband. Okay, can I pick them up right now? How much are they going to be? Whole set, $250. It's like 5.5 grand sitting there. Really dumb criminal. Anyway, so we jumped in the truck and we drive down kind of somewhere, I don't know the exact area, but it was down somewhere southeast of town, and get into this neighborhood, and guys with, well, white guys with bandanas and neck tattoos, that type of stuff.
Mm.
So we pull up to this
Country clubbers, you're saying.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Pull up to this house, and there's like 3 or 4 cars in the driveway, and the cars are full of people, and the place smelled like marijuana, that type of stuff. And we go around the back of this guy's house, and when I get out of the car, I'm 6'6", wearing basically golf attire, and the guy's like, "What's going on here?" And she's like, "Oh no, he's just one of my friends, and he's just trying to see if the clubs are okay for my husband." I'm like, okay, so we
He's
walk
here to audit you.
basically. So I walk around the back of this guy's house, and he's got 5 sets of golf clubs all in a row, obviously all stolen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "I want that set." So I'm looking over them, I'm like trying to hold like
Keep
I was
it
going
together.
there. Anyway.
Yeah.
So he had boxes of Pro Vs, which were also mine, sitting in front of the golf bags, right? But one of the boxes of the 3-sleeve was sitting there, and the box was kind of crushed a little bit, right? And he's like, "Yeah, you can take those set of golf clubs for $250 for the whole set." He's like, "The golf ball is going to be extra," and he obviously knows nothing about golf, right? He says, "Yeah, the packaging on this over here is kind of a little bit damaged." He says, "But the golf balls are fine." And at this point, I'm going, "Oh my God." So the day before, I'd played at the National, and when I was taking my golf bag out of the car, the sleeve fell out, and I stood in the sleeve. So it was me that damaged the sleeve, and I'm trying to hold myself together here, going like, "Oh my God, oh my God."
Wow.
So I gave him $250, went back up north. So at this point, I've now got everywhere where he's used the credit card. I've got all the CCTV footage for the gas stations that he's used the credit cards. I've got his address because I went there to pick up my clubs. I've got all the license plates and the whole car thing. And I've got my clubs back for $250. So basically just gave all that information to the cops, and hopefully they picked him up. So,
Wow.
but the point behind the whole story is that the iron covers saved
Yeah, I know you.
saved
Oh my God.
from getting damaged.
And this
Oh,
random,
May have convinced
ridiculous
me.
occurrence, I agree with you.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
But he did actually, he lost one of them. He lost my 4 iron covers, so to order a new set. So I've got 2 sets now.
Wow.
Hey, John can borrow one.
There you go.
Hashtag prepared.
As long as you don't have a 4 iron, then you can have the other set, yeah. Yeah, so that's my iron cover clubs
Yeah.
getting stolen story, yeah.
Yeah, I've had 2 sets of clubs
Thank
stolen
God.
now, and it always sucks.
Really? Have you had clubs stolen?
I, knock on wood, have never had a club stolen.
Me neither.
Steve
Yeah.
Schaefer, I remember Schaefer in Myrtle Beach.
Tripp
He had
had 2 sets.
2 sets stolen in like 2 months
Yeah.
out of the back of his truck. And
Very
both
Very transient.
$3,000 to
town, though.
$4,000 setups.
Right. Yeah.
And it was just people cruising through the frickin', country club parking lot and
Checking
just
on
checking.
doors,
Yeah, super.
I had mine stolen out of my backyard.
Why were they in your backyard?
So
Why didn't you shoot him?
Yeah,
On your
yeah,
property.
On your property, yeah.
I wasn't there at the time.
This is
so
America.
Oh boy.
I also
We
was
better
not
be
armed. I was
careful.
not armed at the time, but I fixed that too. So I was bringing something back to Home Depot, so I had to take them out of my trunk because it was like early in the season. I'd been to the driving range a couple times, and I had a large item I had to return. So I took them out of the trunk, set them in front of my shed in my backyard. My backyard was mostly fenced. There was a little bit kind of along the back alley. There was a little alley that went between us and the neighbors on the next street over, and so I set them there, drove to Home Depot, came back. It was literally 15 minutes, and
They're
my
gone.
clubs are gone.
Clubs are gone.
And
Wow, that's
I
crazy.
found out shortly after, so it was like right when I moved to Minnesota, I found out shortly after that our neighbors were drug dealers.
Oh, wow.
So they had people, cars driving up, all sorts of like 2, 3 a.m., all sorts of people.
Were they
and
selling good stuff?
I don't know. I never
Okay.
bought.
Yeah, stolen golf.
You know, I'd see them.
Right.
Yeah, I'd see them go out to the car at 2, 3 in the morning, and they're there 30 seconds and leave. And
You know why you never got them back, right?
why's that?
You didn't have iron covers.
I didn't
Right,
have
yeah.
that.
Too much
Couldn't
damage
couldn't
on them.
identify
Probably
You
them.
wouldn't have
could've
wanted
found
them back anyway. There'd been chips all over the irons.
Yeah, they were marked up anyway,
Oh,
dinged
man.
up.
But that's whenever he took mine, he had the straps. I was a wee short guy, but he had the straps all pulled right up. So he's obviously sprinting down the street. And if he never had the iron covers, they'd be beated up. So,
You have made your
moral of the story is buy iron covers, everyone.
Go get them back if they're stolen.
Yes.
You're slowly convincing me. Now you do have. Speaking of tournament golf, you do have a tournament coming up here, right? In a month or so.
Yeah, so we had basically last year with the new job at the National and stuff, we kind of had to take a year to figure that out, and we've kind of done pretty well at that. So it's
Sure.
kind of got to a point now where we can kind of run the membership department at both clubs from my phone, basically. So
Good.
we're
man.
kind of going to start to play a lot more golf. And
By both, do you mean the Deuce and
the
the
Deuce and the
National?
National, yeah.
Okay.
So kind of been playing a lot more golf recently, and then through the winter, it's been a lot of indoor golf, but lots of practice, lots of doing that stuff. So the scores have been coming down.
Good.
A couple of 65s over the past couple of weeks at the National. So that's the plan for this year's course record.
Which, if people don't know, like the National, maybe not this time of year, but like when they overseed the rough, that is a difficult layout.
Yep.
You really have to put the ball in the fairway.
Yeah, so whenever we first took over the club, we a lot of the clubs around this area have that kind of super crazy thick rough. And that's one of the major, I've never been as frustrated around the golf in a long time as when I played Loch Lloyd in the KC Cup. Like, I would miss a fairway by 2 yards and can't find your ball. And if you're 140 yards out, you're hacking it up the fairway, there's no control, that type of stuff. So when we got there, the GM actually cut the rough down. Don't know the exact number he cut it down on. So it's a little bit more playable, and it's not like some of the other country clubs in the area. So, so yeah, we've got the US Open qualifier coming up, and they had a local one. What's the name of the club?
Oakwood.
So we looked at that, and then we kind of looked a bit further into it, and there's actually one at Odessa Country Club where I played my college golf. So it gave me a little bit more advantage.
Slightly familiar with that.
Slightly familiar with that one, yeah. Played it a few times and shot 94 on it also. So
let's not put that out there.
So it's like I was saying earlier, it's basically pitching and putting until we leave on the first, and go down there and have at it. And
so I believe I met your caddy.
Yes.
He came by.
Sterling.
He's an awesome guy.
Yeah,
he was bragging about you.
He's a fun guy, and the cool thing about him too is that whenever it comes to my job over here, so I met him through doing that through the KC Golf Facebook thing. He came out to do a tour of the club, maybe possibly looking at membership type stuff, and ends up making a hole-in-one on 11 at the Deuce.
That's right, yeah.
So he probably sells both of those clubs more than I do. He talks about them all the time. So
that's cool.
having a guy like that's pretty cool, and then he's kind of, with doing his promotion stuff, he's managed to get his a sponsor from up in Atchison. So all of the costs are covered, so we don't need to worry about that stuff too. So
good.
He's a huge promoter of me and the golf courses. So yeah,
I had a good phone call with him last week actually, because he'll be coming in. I think he said with his son too for a swing analysis and stuff. And sounds like just a really good guy, motivated.
Yeah, he's just one of these guys that super avid golfer and just wants to improve.
Yeah. Yep. And those are the type of people we just love, man. Like if you're motivated, like we were saying earlier, that's makes our job so easy.
Yep.
You know, just point them in the right direction and give them the proper guidance. And they'll figure it out from there.
Yeah, but he's the one thing about him is he will not shut up about that hole-in-one.
Rightfully so. I'm still waiting on mine. Do you have any?
I have 4.
Of course you do.
Okay. 4. But, so we talked about that too. So I've had 2 in Scotland, 2 in Texas, and then I think what's more impressive for me personally is 2 albatrosses as well. I think the albatrosses are better than the hole-in-ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
What distances?
On the hole-in-ones?
No, the albatross.
So the par 5, my first albatross actually it was after my first hole-in-one. I had one of those little tailor-made 5 with those spoon things that they had with the rails on the bottom of it.
Long time ago.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were playing in a Texas Scramble, because that's what they called them over there, before we even thought Texas wasn't that type of stuff. So playing a Scramble, we picked my shot, we picked my tee shot, and then I hold this 5 wood from probably, I think it was like 220 yards or something there.
Nice.
Then the other one was at Ranchland Hills in Midland, Texas, kind of dogleg par 5 up the hill. Pretty good tee shot, middle of the fairway, and then the clubhouse is directly behind the green. And I think I 8-iron, 170 or something it was up the hill, and hit the shot kind of dead on line, and I just heard crack, and I'm like, I don't know if that's hit the flag or it's hit the clubhouse window. Like, okay. So we get up there and it basically shattered the whole hole. It basically went straight in between the pin and the flag, so it kind of broke the plastic bit around the hole.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is a lot more impressive than holes-in-one.
Yeah.
Well, the percentage is far less.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
From what I've understood.
Yeah. Well, distance is usually going to be greater.
Between the 3 of us, we have 0.
Right?
Man.
Yep.
Really?
I have hit
I've
the
come
flag
as
stick
close
6
as possible.
times and lipped out once.
I dunked one and it popped out.
I hit the flag
Sucks.
stick on 3 at the Deuce. Backed it up.
I've had a lot of hole outs.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of hole outs, 110 and
Just
in.
not
I've had
holes.
3.
Yeah, I've not had too many of them.
I had that weird blow a drive, drop a ball, hole out for birdie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At like 220.
Miraculous bogey save.
Birdie save. Yeah. That was weird.
I know, minor bogey saves.
Classic Jon Snyder golf.
Mm.
Block a drive, drop off a hazard, then hole out at 220 for
Right.
a birdie. It's pretty dumb.
Yeah, it's always cool stories hearing that because you kind of it's one of those things that like you're never going to forget every single one of those shots. It's like,
No doubt.
Yeah, that is the cool part.
Yep.
Yeah.
You always have. That's just. Yeah.
Whether
So
it's bad or
to your
good.
memory.
It's a funny story about the first ever hole in one I made. That was when I just started playing. It was like right before I turned 14. Par 3, I think from the front tee boxes when I was playing it there, it was like 140 yards or something. I hit 4-iron and kind of topped it, and it ran up. We've got like kind of caliche-ish, like red stone cart paths. Not a cart path, walking path because there's no carts.
Right.
And I'm playing myself, and the ball runs up, skips up, the nail goes up, and I heard it hit the flag. But there was guys walking up to the green, and I'm like, I'm not going up there until you guys come and join me and follow me up there. But I actually ended up being the captain of the club, which is pretty cool. So we walked up there, and he presented us with a little certificate and stuff for the hole in one, which was pretty cool. And it was one of those kind of right when you start playing golf, it's like, I want to keep doing this. This is fun.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
That's
Pretty good for a
awesome, man.
beginner.
Yeah. No doubt.
So speaking of the national and upcoming tournaments, do we want to make an announcement here?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We finally kind of locked down a date recently.
Yeah.
So-
It would appear so.
Yeah, September 25th.
Yeah.
We're partnering with Watson Links. Like, you got to
Yeah.
talk to Mr. Tom at the golf show a little bit,
Yep.
as did I. Legend in the KC area. So we'll be holding a benefit up at the National Golf Club, which will help raise some funds for Watson Links
Yeah.
here in September. So
All
we're
about youth
excited.
golf. So
Yeah.
a lot of people won't know what Watson Links is. So I mean, brief description is they mostly purchase tee times, right? For like
It's yeah.
kind of that 10 to 18-year-old group.
That's the way I understand it. Yeah, it's a mentorship program. So
Yeah.
they buy tee times,
Yeah.
which is free to access for the junior golfers that
Yeah.
sign up.
Yep.
And then they pair you with a mentor who passes background checks and all that stuff, and you get to go play 9 holes with whomever you're paired with, and it's just a way to involve golf professionals and those that want to impact the game and junior golfers, and it kind of helps bridge the gap because First Tee does a great job up to that 10, 12,
Mhm.
13-year-old age range. And so Tom's mission was to wanted to create lifetime golfers, I believe is his statement. And
The other part of that too
So-
is it kind of just shows you how awesome that guy is, even
He's
at the age
phenomenal.
he's at
Yeah.
and like the career he's had and how busy he is with all the other stuff he's got going on. He still wants junior golfers playing golf.
And I think it's remarkable that with a guy that has the career he's had, that he has stayed in Kansas City
Yep.
when he could have, gone off to Florida or Arizona or
Jupiter,
just
Florida.
yeah, right.
Wherever.
Wherever he wanted to go. He could have gone anywhere, and he just stayed local and has tried to impact the game of golf and has done a phenomenal job doing so. And the few times I've got to cross his path, he's just gracious and
Yeah.
wants to talk to you. It's just he's an awesome guy. It's really cool that he's gotten behind this. And so yeah, we're starting up our benefit tournament again because we were running one for a few years, and we're really excited about this. Should be a fun event, and the National is a great spot to host a tournament.
Yeah.
Super.
Especially the Tom Watson affiliation too. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're super
Quite poetic.
privileged to even have an opportunity to do
no doubt, man. It's
Yep.
it's an
Spoiled.
honor to be paired with his name, no doubt.
it. Yeah.
So
Any details on cost, registration? People can get in contact with you for sponsorships.
We're just starting to finalize a lot of that.
yeah,
So we're not going to talk a lot about that yet, but I mean,
Right.
it's going to be a pretty well set up event. Is
Yep.
basically what I'll say. We are going to be looking for sponsorships to a degree, but sponsorships will involve. It'll just be paired with team entry too.
Yep.
So so we'll keep people posted on that.
And then last topic can be the Masters upcoming here pretty soon.
yeah,
oh yeah,
Who you guys got?
Tiger.
every time yeah,
Tiger.
Yeah.
He'll figure it out on one leg. He did
Tiger,
it at
yeah.
Torrey, so
Yeah, I mean, Tiger.
Scotty again.
can't count him out.
Yeah, the
defending
Scotty
champion?
Scheffler
I
thing
don't
is
know.
but it's awesome player, great player, but it's the feet movement thing. I don't want him to win because of that.
And he doesn't have iron head covers either.
Yeah.
Yeah, get that one guy that played a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
It is funny to see his swing to the moment of impact. It's just so good.
Yep.
And then his spasm after contact is just so hard to
It's
watch.
relatable.
Yeah, I mean, I know they've done really well, but I think that Morikawa and who's the other little short guy that kisses his dad in the lips? What's his name?
Apparently, I'm behind.
He always kisses his dad before he goes and tees off. His last name begins on S.
Is he what?
Thanks for
Is he
California, maybe?
he's American.
Yeah.
Last name starts with
I'm
an
trying
S?
to blank. I don't know.
Oh, what's his name?
No idea who you're talking about.
It's not Tom Brady.
The whole kissing his dad on his lips thing. It
That
threw
threw me off. Yeah, I don't know.
Like what?
Now I'm lost.
He came at the same time as Morikawa. Short guy, short
guy.
hair, Adidas all over.
Adidas all over,
Oh my goodness.
and he's American.
From California.
I can't Google guy that kisses his dad in the lips.
You certainly could. I don't think you'll like the
I
search
don't think the
results.
golfer's going to come up, but yeah.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna
You
say,
might-
It sounds like Shoffley.
Oh,
Xander
Xander.
Yes.
He kisses his dad on the lips.
Yes, I've seen it on TV.
Really?
Why would I make that up?
I don't know.
Well,
Random thing in the world to make up.
with a name like
Don't do that
Xander
Google
Schauffele, I
search
feel like
tonight
his
because
parents
the
would be
FBI is
European,
going to show up at your
Right.
front door.
and that
tomorrow.
would make sense. Like
be.
it would make sense if he was European.
Xander.
Different parts of
Would not have
Europe
done that.
kind of
I don't
have those kissing traditions.
So,
Anyway,
anyways, why him? Or
Yeah,
you were
so
picking him?
if I was,
or you're-
I was really expecting them when both of them kind of took off that him especially would do a lot better than what he has done.
Xander.
Yeah. Well, he's
But-
an Olympic gold medalist. At least he's got some
Yeah.
experience. You know.
Right.
I just don't want Scotty Scheffler to win. Tiger.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go Fleetwood. Completely random.
I have a hard time seeing him closing the deal.
Yeah. So I've got a funny story about Fleetwood too. So we played international match Scotland versus England through the schools back in the day. I've actually got I just moved house a couple of weeks ago and I found this again. So that must have been 2004 or something we played in that deal. And Tommy Fleetwood played in that match and he shot 95-97.
Solid.
Solid. Never heard anything from him since then. And then I got a call probably 2015 or something. And it was a guy who was like, "You remember Tommy Fleetwood?" And I'm like, talking about no idea. And he had just won some tournament in Dubai and won 5 million euros or something. I'm like, damn. 94 never turned out that way. yeah.
It's all the hair.
Yeah.
Hair
I
and the
know.
beard.
This is good for the average viewer to hear, though.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
it's another jolt of like, hey, it's not always pretty.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's not always pretty.
We've all had bad days, man.
Yeah.
It's picking it. You know, picking
why we
yourself
keep
up
coming
and
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a given, but you still can't say it enough.
Right.
You still need to remind people.
Absolutely.
Cool.
We still never figured out who we wanted to win the Masters.
No.
Apart from Tiger.
Fleetwood Tiger. I think
And again, I don't.
Fowler top 10. Hot take.
Fowler?
Who?
Fowler, Ricky Fowler top
Did he
10.
qualify?
Did he qualify?
He did, yeah.
did?
Okay.
I think so.
I like where his swing's going. I'm
do
gonna
too.
I'm gonna put him up there.
I think he'll make the cut.
After watching.
Mainly because I desperately want him to.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm such a fan
Such
of
a
his.
Fowler fan.
After watching the old full swing thing, I would love to see Finau winning that.
Oh,
that was pretty
yeah,
cool.
that's
True.
true.
Yeah.
That
Tony's
whole
an
story
awesome
was
guy.
awesome. when I
That made
watched
you
that.
fall in love with him more for sure.
He's the type that has
Yeah.
worked his butt off to get to where he's at, and
Even though it's
he just
Netflix.
looks like such a natural. You just assume that he's always been that good. But I mean, he spent 7 years, I think, on the Corn Ferry Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, the guy is a grinder, and he's such a nice dude. Like
We have
I'm
pure
with you.
family man.
Yeah, I would love to see him win.
That's not like that wasn't news though. Like they
No.
highlighted that in Full Swing, but everyone kind of knew how
It was to the
awesome
casual
of a
fan.
guy he was. Yeah.
It was to the casual fan,
Yeah.
which is why I appreciate what they're doing there. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't think it was like groundbreaking.
I think they should do a lot more of that stuff though when it comes to the like showing how golf is, because
Yeah.
like it makes you really consider, do you really want to have that life? Like,
Yeah.
No
It
doubt.
must suck.
It's
I mean,
that's a lot.
like,
a lot
I
to-
know it sounds cool, you're on private jets and that all the time, but like every day,
But it's not
Like,
It's a lot of it's not that though.
yeah.
What you're saying is a lot of it's a grind, and you're lonely, and it's
Yeah, but the one thing it didn't show you in that is, again, the practicing thing.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Sure.
it didn't show you the amount of time, the amount of
grind.
hours that they spend beating golf.
Well, that doesn't generate views.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they did play
It would
into
impress
the
me though.
they did play into the Joel Dahman self-deprecation
Yeah, that.
big
Yeah,
time. And
So much so
he's-
he
even
tweeted
said
out
that was a
like,
bit
hey,
ridiculous.
They yeah.
He was like, "Hey,"
sensationalized.
he was like, I know I'm pretty good.
I'm confident, okay?
I'm a pretty good golfer."
Just that way he was like, somebody has to be number 60 in the world. Like,
Yeah.
aim higher. No,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Full Swing was great. It kind of brought. We talked about how it was like Drive to Survive for F1. It brought
Mhm.
people to it, even if it was embellished and over dramatized and sometimes skewed a little. It still brings a crowd to golf that wasn't there.
Yep,
New demographics.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
It's always good.
for sure.
Awesome.
Fowler, go Fowler.
Go Fowler.
Fowler.
Yeah.
That's all you get from that.
Yeah.
So thanks, Chris, for
Thank you very
Coming
much
on,
for having me,
joining us.
guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
fun.
good
Do it
time.
again.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.